James, to call Trump's first couple weeks a shit show so understates the chaos, the damage, and the threat to the law.
Well, okay. Probably is, but where do you start? So we talk about distractions. For a distraction to work, it's a two-party trait. There has to be a distractor
Mm-hmm.
and a distractee.
Right.
So he's the distractor. Now, by default, we don't have to be the distractee. But because if we went for every crazy thing and started trying to rank them, I don't know how you ever get out of that maze or whatever it is. And he just, and I love the people, who go on TV on a panel after the election and say, "Don't worry, everything's going to be fine."
That's right. You know,
Yeah,
we can work with him.
we can work with him. Okay, and then we had the people you know very well. I'll be very clear and upfront. You're not one of some responsible conservative Republican was going to save us from this.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't come. They're not there. Okay, let's just get over it. They're not coming. The Cavalry's not coming. The courts are not coming. Nothing. And where do we pick our fights? What is the overarching theme to every crazy ass thing? And they're so insane. I had to comment on the New York Times. Peter Baker. I know Peter Baker forever. You have too. He's a experienced reporter, to say the least. He's got a lot of foreign policy background. He and his wife wrote what people claim is a very good book on James Baker. And the opening line in New York Times is he's not thinking outside the box. There's no box anywhere. There's no box. Get over it. I mean, if Peter Baker could be, I'm not saying he's a bad guy at all, but might be one of the five most conventional people in the national media, says he's not outside the box. No one even knows where the freaking box is. And that's what we're dealing with. And we go back and we can find all the times earlier when I talked about Bannon saying flooding the zone with shit. Well, we flooded with shit now. So when that happens, I hope we can pick a unifying theme that the public will find to be credible, the Democrats will find to be really credible and excite them, and it has to be true. And all of the truth is this is a government by billionaires, for billionaires, of billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it is. Gaza, he just wants all of his friends to get rich. They want to open casinos on the coast and think about you. All of this stuff is a giant shakedown effort. And I think that you're not going to get it perfect, but you have to give people a credible explanation of this craziness because it's inexplicable. I think the way we got to look at it is through the eyes of a billionaire.
Yeah, I think that's right. Those confirmations, those cowardly senators, they're about to confirm Bobby Kennedy for HHS, Kash Patel for FBI, Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence, and they have already confirmed Pete Hegseth for Defense. I venture to say I don't know what the number is, 10, 15, 20 of those Republicans, no, those candidates are absolutely unqualified and dangerous to be in that position. But they're afraid. I had real respect for Bill Cassidy, the conservative from Louisiana. He's a doctor. He knows that Bobby Kennedy is a vaccine denier. He knows that Bobby Kennedy can't be trusted at HHS. But he also knows he's up for election next year. Tom Tillis of North Carolina, such absolute BS, said, I think we need a disruptor. No, what Tom Tillis wants is not to have a right-wing challenger. So I just think you can't count on the Congress. Republicans, they've decided to give King Donald whatever he wants. And I just want to go back to the Muskites. They've got 40 people running around doing whatever they want to, sowing havoc. And they don't give, James, when they come into it, they don't give their last name. They just say, hey, I'm John or I'm Susie, and I'm here with Elon Musk, and you get out. You're going to do this, or we're going to go in and get the payment system. And they go into USAID, dismantle. One of their criticisms was they have all kinds of woke spending. I'm sure they do have some. One of them was a $20 million for us to create a Sesame Street in Iraq. Man, what a great investment that would be. Think what Sesame Street did for this country, but they don't care about that. But I think they ought to be identified. I mean, they're doing things. They have power. Some have come out. There's apparently a Marco Alexa, 25-year-old, who has access to the Treasury system. Thomas Shedd, Luke Farragut, the guy who's running, apparently his name is Steve Davis. Much of this I'm getting from the New York Times and other places. But there's a guy at the Pentagon who Trump or Musk has made Air Force Secretary. I think I had the name right. Troy Meinke, Meinck. And he was a bureaucrat who survived. Why did he survive, James? Because he was the one that facilitated a multi-billion-dollar contract for Elon Musk's SpaceX. This is really, we've never seen anything quite like that. But, just a memo to all the aggressive reporters, newsletters, newspapers out there. Name these people. Just tell them who they are and what's in their background. I mean, I assume, do any of them have criminal backgrounds or unsavory affiliations? We do that for other people. The press needs to be aggressive. You're right about the Democrats. They need to be selective.
Yeah, and I mean, you just show why it's so hard to be selective, right?
It is.
That's the problem. There is so much, and it is so difficult, and it requires so much patience, and it requires not doing so many things. The Musk thing is easy. He wants to make money. All these people he's a huge defense contractor. So you have to look at that as primarily his motivation, of which he is, and he wants to be an even huger defense contractor. And the less ability there is of the government, when you haul out all the talented people, who's going to go through your bid, who's going to go through your ROP or request for performance, or whatever it is, okay? Nobody. This is all set in motion to distract us from the fact that this is a giant grift and a giant scam for billionaires to make money. And we think this is new. I'll remind you of what it was said about John D. Rockefeller of your home state legislature. He did everything to the Pennsylvania legislature except refine it. Okay? They might figure a way to refine this legislature before this is over. Okay? I mean, this is not new in American history. But it was one of the great quotes of he did everything to the Pennsylvania legislature except refine it.
Well, James, you're right. There's so damn many targets. It's hard. There's a difference between what we do, what the press does, what lawyers can do, and what Democrats, particularly in Congress, have to focus on. But there's some things that we have talked about how bad some of these first line appointments are. Bobby Kennedy and Elon and Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard. Where do you get a look at some of these second and third level people? I mean, one of them said that basically government only works if it's run by white men. I mean, that's a quote. That's not me. Another I knew about, he was a Pennsylvania congressional and Senate candidate, and he had to drop out after it came out that his wife accused him of violent assault. I mean, these are the people that are populating this administration, I think, and I hope that comes out. And on your point about the focus, why not talk about the Treasury Secretary, who people say may be one of the better of this sorry lot, who allowed the raid on the payment system, and he favors a cut in corporate taxes and actively opposes raising the minimum wage. I think that would play pretty well in most places, don't you?
I think it would play tremendously well. And the guy, of course, was a billionaire himself. And he wants policies for him, just like they all do. And support for him. You know, why does he doesn't want to pay people. He wants to keep money for himself. They're donors. He doesn't want to raise taxes on incomes over $400,000 a year. He wants to take care of himself. He don't care. He doesn't care about anything but him and people like him. And I can't get mad at people for falling for that, but they were told. They should have known. They were distracted. Uh, we did play our seventh string quarterback in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, we did it. There's complicity here in a lot of places, but nothing of this. No one should be surprised in the least by any of this. Taking 2 million people and relocating them who've been there for millennia and millennia. I mean, it's so mind boggling that to talk about it even normalizes it.
It is, and you know, I mean, the Gaza thing isn't even really worth our time. I mean, no one takes it seriously except Trump, who sees it as a money-making opportunity because everything for him
That,
is a money-making opportunity. You know, I want to stay on these congressional Republicans. I'm not sure that Tom Tillis is going to be able to avoid a primary next year because the right wing doesn't give a damn about Tom Tillis, and they're selling their soul in the hopes that they can avoid a contest. So let's tell every right wing, Mark Robinson. Hey, Mark, you didn't make the governorship. Try for the Senate next time. It really is. It's depressing. I still hold out hope for a handful like Lisa Murkowski, but not very many.
handful for what? To do what? They put every charlatan, crook, incompetent buffoon that you can imagine in the cabinet. What are we waiting on?
Yeah.
It ain't coming. No Calvary. Don't listen as hard as you can. Not coming. Not coming. And here we are. I mean, when I say this, I'm not being dramatic or anything like that. The existence of this entire enterprise is at very, very profound risk right now. Uh, these are people that have no understanding of American history, no understanding of what the United States is, what it stands for, anything. And to them, it's just a giant impediment to their money making machine. That's just what it is. There are no heroes in this place so far, and it seems unlike now. Cassidy going to have a hard time. They'll still run against him, and I don't think he can win a Republican primary in Louisiana if Trump comes in and campaigns for him. Maybe he will, but he's making a bargain. The same thing with Tillis. They're making a bargain to that history. Their names will live in infamy in history. And if they get reelected, I think they'd say it's worth it. But I'm not sure they're going to make it.
Yeah. James, when you say this whole enterprise is at risk, I don't disagree. But from their vantage point, look, I think much of this is illegal or unconstitutional. And I think the Democratic legal community has gotten energized. There are all kinds of suits in the works. Some people we know are going to be very, very prominent in this, and they are the best lawyers around. They are better than the much, much better than the hacks that Trump has at Justice and elsewhere. But it's going to take time, and time is not on the side of people who want to restore decency and order to government. Their disruption, as they call it, destruction, it really is, will be very hard to repair the longer it takes. And there's always the danger that ultimately that Republican Supreme Court, will side with Trump on some of this stuff. So I know what you're saying when you say the whole enterprise is at risk, but I wonder if that bothers them.
Well, first of all, I don't think they thought of it. The second thing is the judges matter by a factor of 100 over the lawyers. We can have the best lawyers in the world, which I think to some extent we do have superb lawyers, but they don't count. They can't any better than the judge. I don't know how you're going to need a luck of the draw, and how you're going to pass the Supreme Court. I have no idea, but it is a very risky and problematical bet to bet on the legal system here. Look, we have to use it, yes, but I think they're just forging ahead. They don't give a shit. They're going to make as much money as fast as they can make it.